Chris, thank you so much this morning for joining me for Give Me Five this morning. Welcome. Chris, the Pilgrim's Progress was written in 1678 by John Bunyan. The book is regarded as a significant literary work. It has been translated into more than 200 languages and has never been out of print. Now, I read The Pilgrim's Progress of recent and I loved it. But how lovely to hear that you have written a book also inspired by The Pilgrim's Progress and other allegorical books such as The Chronicles of Narnia. What made you want to write such a book, Chris?
Well, like you, I read Pilgrim's Progress myself. Actually, I read it on the train each day as I was going to work. And by the way, I worked for the Department for Transport in Westminster in London. So I was heavily involved in the railway industry and helping the industry on the railways. And then suddenly, halfway through reading the book, I thought, reading Pilgrim's Progress, I thought, well, maybe I could write a book a bit like that, a sort of parable, or an allegory, as people call it, of a journey. But my journey is not by foot, but by train. So, what I've used is inspiration from my time in the railway, working with the railway. For example, the situation of a disabled person trying to find their way onto a train and ending up finding there wasn't a great deal of help for them, and feeling a bit desperate. That's one of the chapters in the book. But also inspiration sometimes from reading the Bible. So one of the chapters, for example, is called The Hailstorm, which reflects what happened in Exodus in the hailstorm and the difficulties there, and the different answers that people look to in difficult times. And I call that the waiting room. So we're sitting in a waiting room, waiting for a train. What do we think about? Where do we turn? So that's some of the inspiration that came to me to write the book.
Yeah, that's amazing, Chris. So, Chris, as we begin to read your book, I've got it here actually, A Ticket to Zion by yourself, Chris Brown. The discerning reader may begin to realize that similitudes are taking place. Lilith makes an appearance and Albert Einstein as well. So you use legend and physics well. Should we perhaps view the world around us with more of discerning view? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. And actually, before I was a rail research manager, I was managing research at the NPL, the National Physical Laboratory. So I was a physics person. Yes. That was my background, and that's what I did for my career. So I find it amazing to look with the eyes of physics to the world, to see things like black holes, to see things like time slowing down, and light can be described as a particle or a wave. And even just looking at the sky, if you look at the blue sky, ask yourself, why is it blue?
Yes.
And the answer is it's because of the dust in the atmosphere and the fact that blue light scatters more than red or green light.
Wow.
And that's why we have a blue sky on the earth.
That's just amazing.
It is, yeah. And in the book, what I do is I try and lay alongside these amazing things about the universe that we see with the eyes of physics, and lay those alongside amazing things that we see in the spiritual realm, the spiritual dimension. Yes. So one thing is miracles, miraculous healings, for example. And the attitude of people generally is quite odd, because you look at these amazing things in physics and people seem to believe them very readily without hardly questioning them.
True.
And yet similar things, similarly amazing things in the spiritual realm, like healings, people don't tend to inquire and think about them. They just dismiss them. So that's one of the things my book does, is lay these two thoughts together and sort of challenge people really to look into the evidence for the spiritual realm and to the healing and miraculous signs that are described in the Bible and can help us all.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
So that's how I see that aspect.
Yeah, I think you've got a really good point there, actually, Chris, because like you say, I think it's good to be challenged and to see, a bit more about this in your book as well, that people can read, because they will find that very interesting and helpful. One of the characters in your book is David, a blind person, and he experiences this miracle receiving of his sight. How do you think divine healing takes place in the world today?
Yes, I do believe that divine healing takes place in the world today. But it's not, I don't think it's faith in faith that leads to healing. It's faith in God,
yes,
who heals. So that's an important aspect. And if you look at the Gospels, they're often described in John's Gospel, for example, as signs pointing to the way, pointing to Jesus, the healer. And many multitudes came to Jesus because they saw the miracles, they saw his healing. So that happened then, and God doesn't change. So his nature is the same today as it was then. So exactly. I'm sure he does do things like that today too. That's depicted, as far as I've been able, in the book as well, about with David, who was healed of blindness. And that was the trigger actually for my main character, Ian, to start his spiritual journey. And I think that's the same for many people. When they hear of something amazing that's happened in somebody else's life, in a Christian's life, that then draws them to think, well, maybe there's something in this. Maybe I need to find out more about that. And that's the story in the book, really, with how Ian started out.
Yeah, yes, I would agree with that. I would. So, Chris, one of the memorable scenes in John Bunyan's allegory is the Slough of Despond. And yet Christian made his way to the far side of the slough, but his fellow traveller, Pliable, he made the way to the quickest exit point, which was going back, as we know, to the city of destruction. Do you personally identify with that experience, Chris?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually, I don't tend to be a despondent person. Okay. But of course, many people do have that tendency yes. to be a bit despondent. And in the book, I do sort of pick this up a little bit in one of the chapters, which is called Slough, which is not actually the Slough of Despond necessarily, but it's the place Slough. And that reflects the poem of John Betjeman, Come Friendly Bombs, because he thought, well, maybe Slough, which he didn't think much of, ought to be bombed out of existence.
Right.
So the book asks the question, well, why do these places of difficulty and trial for us, why do they exist? Why isn't everything easy and perfect? And so the book sort of looks into that a little bit as to why there are difficulties for people, why these sloughs of despond, if you like, exist. And in perhaps a partial answer coming out of the book is that they are to some extent trials. They are testing places, and that if we do endure through that, we come through to a better place, and there is glory given to God through that, and there is a good harvest from this training, if you like. So going through the slough of despond can be a training, and then you are well equipped to help others in difficulty once you've made it to the other side.
Yes.
So my way of putting that in the book is that after Slough, the train line goes to Royal Windsor. So that's the next step on our road, is the royalty and the delights of Windsor after you've been through Slough.
Yeah, I think your book really captures some really good issues, shall we say, that people ask questions about and find things challenging. So I think your book really does capture that. Now, you have given your book a Welsh feel. What affinity do you have with Wales?
Well, I'm not actually Welsh.
Okay.
I actually come from Darlington originally, which is a very well-known railway town, going back right to the beginning of the railway.
Yes.
But we won't go into that. But there are a couple of reasons why I chose Wales to set the book. One was the Welsh revival, and looking back over that, it's a place where there'd been a touch of God in the past, and I wanted to look back at that, and for people to realise that there was that tremendous move of God in the Welsh revival.
Yes.
And then secondly, it's also a place I personally went on holiday to and enjoyed time in Talybont, actually, which is where it starts, the book. And it's a lovely, quaint little village, almost just a hamlet, and a bit out of the way, but then it's a bit like the stable in Bethlehem, a sort of somewhere out of the way to begin a journey before ending up in the celestial city, which is the end of the journey.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Chris. It really is. And I have started to read your book, and I have to say I am enjoying it. And I think those who are listening today, I hope they buy the book. It should not be missed, because you capture such great things in this book. Like we said, the issues that people might struggle with. And of course, we don't want to stay in that slough of despond. And your book is called A Ticket to Zion by Chris Brown. And Chris, where can people get your book from if they would like to read it?
Well, if people do want to read it, it's quite easy to order it on Amazon. Just search for A Ticket to Zion by Chris Brown, which is me.
Yes.
Or if you want to buy it more cheaply, you can order it through my website, which is called tickettozion.com without the A. So it's tickettozion.com. And on the website, you'll also see me or hear me reading extracts from the book. And there's lots of background information about the book and how different chapters were inspired by different sources. So have a look at that if you would like to find out more about it.
And I would encourage everyone to look at the website, because I personally have been on the website and I really have enjoyed listening to all the things that you said, and you get this lovely feel about your book, A Ticket to Zion. And anybody who has read Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, I think this would be a good follow-up to read as well by you, Chris. So Chris, thank you so much. You have been such a joy and a pleasure to interview this morning. So thank you for joining me, Chris, for Give Me Five this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. And God bless you, Chris. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Bye.
God
Bye.
bless you.